Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Pipe Bomb Sessions. We are coming off an epic and crazy wild card weekend, man. We saw a lot of crazy things honestly be put up there, from upsets to really just defensive huge matchups, as well as offensive juggernauts going crazy. Man, congrats to the 8 teams that did advance. Of course, one of them was the Rams, who are still the Super Bowl favorites. And speaking of the Rams are the only team now left. They're the only team left, ladies and gentlemen, with a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I think that gives them a slight edge and advantage over the rest of the field in itself. The Rams, of course, were coming in as Super Bowl favorites already, and they were a complete team, right? Like, we know who Stafford is. We know what that defense is. You got Verse. You freaking got Brisk back there. Plus, the Rams' offense is very fluid at times. However, I don't know how this matchup is going to play out for them coming up this week. Sunday Night Football, the Rams are going to be going to Chicago. Cold. There's a over 50% chance that it actually snows there. In the cold, Stafford, we have seen, sometimes could struggle. However, we've also seen some of Stafford's best games come out in the snow and cold. So I think this is going to be another shootout. The Bears have a slight disadvantage because of the two major injuries in their victory over Green Bay last week that occurred. Their defensive freaking man in the middle, Edmonds, is out. He's out for the year. He's most likely done, unfortunately for them. And, of course, they lost their guy who's, one of their best linemen who's blocking Caleb Williams' blind side. I think losing him is going to be a huge situation that they're going to have to fix, I would say, fairly quickly rather than later, just because that could become an issue. On the flip side, the Bears, we know that their defense relies on generating turnovers. Turnover, right? The thing is, if Stafford doesn't turn that ball over, the Bears, I think, have a very, very slight chance of even coming out of that game with a victory. It's because of their pass rush. They just can't get to the freaking quarterback for some damn reason. They're ranked 31st in that in the regular season. Now, not saying, of course, the playoffs, a lot of factors come into play. The Bears did beat the Packers after coming back from behind again this year. Man, this Bears team is something else when it comes to comebacks. I know, luck has to run out at some point. However, I will say this. How you going to beat a lucky team? That makes it hard. However, I'm still going to make my pick, and that is, I'm going to go with the man who got a ring already, plus his Hall of Fame coach. I'm going to go with Stafford, McVay, and the Rams to win this one. I think that's honestly pretty freaking good. Another very good matchup on paper, and especially because that defense has been balling out. Oh my God. Since that defense has really came together, D'Amico Ryans and co. for the Houston Texans. Wow. I truthfully do believe that the Texans' defense alone can bring them to the Super Bowl. That offense is subpar. They need to fix that offense together. Losing Nico to that concussion, that looked pretty bad, man. My man had to get carted off. Hopefully he's all right. Let's see if he can pass the protocol to play this week. But the bigger concern, again, is that defense. As we saw in the Pittsburgh Steelers game, if you think about it, the Steelers were in that and had that. If it wasn't for Sheldon Rankins bringing it back, if it wasn't for Bullock bringing it back, they just generate turnovers, pressure over pressure, sacks. It does not matter. They make it very difficult for offense to move the ball on them. I think Drake May and company, I think they're going to struggle a little bit. The way that they can have a chance in this game is to get that running game going. Let Drake May kind of do a little bit of short passes. If you take the risky throws, make sure they're calculated risky throws, because this defense is one of those that will make you pay for it. You're slightly off, you're going to pay for it. Look what they did to Rodgers. I mean, Rodgers was pressured all night long. They only generated 6 points. The Texans scored 30 on the other side, and honestly, a lot of it was the defense again. Like, what the hell? CJ Stroud had 4 fumbles. Obviously, only lost 2, but still. Like, the Pittsburgh defense was kind of giving them a shot. But man, those boys back there, Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, my goodness, monsters. I expect the Texans to win this in another fairly lower scoring game, in my opinion. But I do think they're going to advance to the championship for the first time in a while. And they're going to continue this streak of winning on the road. I think that's a big obstacle they had to get through. And they officially did, man. That's awesome. Now, they were the last team remaining going into Monday night. Last playoff team remaining that hasn't won a road game before. And boom. Now, they're in it. They're going to the next round. And I think this is going to be very, very fun to watch and interesting. Another fun matchup, in my opinion at least, is going to be the Niners versus Seahawks. NFC West rivals. Obviously, they saw each other a couple weeks ago. That's when Seattle won it. Of course, we know what's happening with the Niners. Niners are going down, man. They're just slowly losing people. They lost Kittle against the Eagles last week. Honestly, the defense made the Eagles' offense look like I don't even know how to describe it, because I thought this was supposed to be an injury-riddled 49ers team whose defense got, mostly decimated. Offense is a little bit messed up. But in my opinion, they've just overcame all these injuries over and over. I think that's a huge testament on those boys on defense stepping up. Robert Sala's people. Kyle Shanahan, man, he knows what he's doing, right? Like, 8 out of the last 10 seasons, it was either the Philadelphia Eagles or the 49ers who were getting to the championship. In my opinion, I expect the 49ers to beat Sam Darnold and a well-rested Seahawks team. Yes, you heard it here first. I think experience at the end of the day is going to give him this victory. I expect Shanahan to come out there and run CMC in a whole plethora of different types of ways just to get the offense going. Now you don't have Kittle. Of course, I would be concerned. However, I think I've seen enough of Tonjes out there coming in to play for Kittle even during the regular season that, oh man, I think he's going to be more than enough to take over for that place. Of course, Purdy and Tonjes also have that chemistry. You still got weapons out there, man. And you got one of the best weapons in the NFL on your offense in Christian freaking McCaffrey. You run CMC out there the best way you can, just like you did against Philly. If CMC cannot get it on the ground, make him go get it through the air. You know he's going to give you something. He's a game changer. You got to use him. Do not use him how you did a few weeks ago when you faced Seattle. I think this is going to be a game changer. And the biggest game changer from that Seattle game to this week is going to be the 49ers MVP returning on offense. That is big man Trent Williams. He's a difference maker, guys. God damn, if you don't think so, that man is legitimately the most important player on that Niners offense. You can literally see how that offense flips switches with Trent Williams on the field versus him off the field. This is why I think he is going to be a big difference maker when it comes to the 49ers and Seahawks matchup. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think the 49ers are going to blow them out in any sense. It's going to be a very close game. I expect like a 24-21, 27-20 maybe. Something near that range, right? I need to see Darnold playoffs. We know what Darnold is. We know what he could be, right? We've seen him have this excellent regular season. However, we need to see it translate in a big game. This is the week for Darnold to shut a lot of people, including myself, up. Darnold comes out there and balls out this week, and he beats the 49ers. Honestly, I'm going to give him his freaking flowers and his props, man. That's what we want to see. The Seahawks team altogether is is almost flawless. I mean, their defense is excellent. Offense has been playing pretty fairly well. I would say they have a dual threat running back situation that works very well for them. And also, they have the number one wide receiver in the league this year, who's leading the league in receiving yards in JSN. Don't forget they have that man, because that man can turn it up any quarter, any second. Does not matter if he's coming into the fourth quarter with 0 yards. He may finish that game with 100. And we know the Seahawks are not a team that like to kind of give up, right? We saw that against the Rams in that comeback victory when they won it in OT. And honestly, I think an X factor for Seattle is still going to be the guy they got from New Orleans. That is Rashid Shaheed. Rashid Shaheed, remember, he was the reason that comeback even started against the Rams. He's a great special teams player. He's a great deep threat. I think you got to get him somewhat involved. If you do not, I believe that the Niners will be hovering and looking over this man JSN a lot. They want to cause Darnold to be nervous back there. That's the best way you beat him. You make him nervous. I don't know, man. I think they have a shot at genuinely beating the Seattle team and the 49ers, what I mean. Let's see how it plays out. I do think that, again, we'll see Kyle Shanahan and company in the championship game. And we may see, honestly speaking, another NFC West matchup even in the title game if this turns out. Honestly, if either of these teams win out in this one, as long as the Rams can take care of business, as I said earlier. Now, a team that needs to take care of business, again, I said this man had the most pressure on him last week. I did not think they were going to win, if I'm being honest. However, they did win, and that is Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Man, the Jags had a shot. Of course, in the end of the day, I don't really consider that being Trevor Lawrence's fault with the interception. I think either Jacoby Myers should have had a better attempt at catching the ball or something in that regard. However, it is what it is. Congrats to the Jags. Hats off to them regardless. Hey, man, they had an amazing turnaround. I expect to see them in the playoffs again next year. But Bills and Josh Allen, man, do they got grit. That is a team that knows, hey, our competition is not as strong this year. Our competition don't got the experience like we do this year. Josh Allen, this is your shot, man. You already got through round 1. It's now round 2, time to fight. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to be facing a huge, another stingy defense in the Denver Broncos. Oh, man. The Denver Broncos defense is, all caps, ladies and gentlemen, elite. That defense can really cause you hell. They were literally leading the league in sacks. They're going to get to Josh Allen back there. They need to slow him down in order to give themselves a shot. My issue with Denver, though, is never been about the defense. Can we trust Bo Nix? Has Bo Nix showed us enough? Has Bo Nix been consistent enough, especially towards the end of the year with that offense, to be like, yeah, if the defense is balling out, Bo Nix will also ball out and give us a victory. Thing is, I've seen this roller coaster ride with Bo Nix all year long. I don't know if I'm totally sold on him. I'm not going to say that, oh yeah, because of, Bo Nix, the Denver Broncos could lose, because that's not right. If Bo Nix can protect the ball and not do any turnovers, he's gonna be fine. I mean, I don't see the Bills walking out of here. However, I do see the Bills, again, the Bills are in Super Bowl or bust mode. Josh Allen is looking for a goddamn ring, and he knows this is his year. I'm going to say it again. Most pressure is still on Josh Allen out of the final 8 of these quarterbacks. I expect Josh to advance once again this week and face whoever it may be out of New England. And my personal pick, the Texans, in the championship game. I don't know what's really going to happen. I do truthfully believe that Josh Allen and the Bills should be able to take care of business here. I it's a very wishy-washy type of game because we don't know like which kind of Josh Allen's going to show up on the road. That's what gets me a little nervous when it comes to Josh, because if he starts throwing the ball erratically and just throwing all over the place, I don't know if that's really going to be the way that they're going to get it. You know what I'm saying? Oh man. So that's pretty much what I think is going to happen with all these teams, and honestly speaking, these playoffs have been really different. It is exciting, guys. If you're not excited, get excited because this is absolutely wild. Now, before I wrap things up, I do want to touch base on some things that did occur, including the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles have officially fired Kevin Patullo. However, I am hearing he could come back in some kind of offensive personnel role, similar to what pretty much he was at last couple years before taking over the OC position. I do know that the Eagles are looking to bring in and it's more established guy. Now remember, this is the fifth OC in 5 years for Philadelphia. I know Jalen Hurts and co gets a lot of talk on them. I mean, at the end of the day, guys, what do you expect? A quarterback is learning a brand new playbook every single year for 5 years straight, including 2 times where those playbooks and those plays didn't even really work that well. So it's hard to really put the blame on the quarterback, in my opinion. I am excited. We got to team up Vic Fangio's DC role, as he's a solid DC. He's the reason the Philadelphia defense was elite. We need that offense to get to a different level, and the way to do that is to possibly also bring in established veteran type of OC. I would have no problem with that. A few names that I look at is, honestly, I have no problem with the Brian Dabble possibly coming to Philadelphia. I think that would be a pretty good fit for them. I also know about, Mike McDonald, of course, Mike McDaniels. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Mike McDaniels. He, of course, has a lot of interest when it comes to that. But is he going to come to Philly? I don't know. I can see him taking another OC role as well. It really does depend on how he goes down. There's a lot of other openings that also happened. Of course, one of the surprises was Baltimore letting go of Mr. Harbaugh. I think Harbaugh is going to go to New York personally. He's interviewing with them, I believe, on Wednesday. So, he's meeting with them, and that's the first steps right there. Of course, if you guys didn't hear, Dabble actually recommended that, hey, Harbaugh might be a good fit for Jackson Dart, and maybe, check him out in New York. Never know. Never know how that turns out. Of course, then we have Arizona, Atlanta, the Browns opening, Vegas, Miami. Of course, as I just mentioned, New York, Tennessee. And one of the more surprising ones that happened the other day, as he stepped away from being head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes, that is right. Mike Tomlin is no longer going to be coaching for the Pittsburgh Steelers going into next year. He stepped away himself before anyone else forced him to step away, is what I'm going to say. I believe that is very, very interesting, because who is really going to be the next head coach of the Steelers? And does this mean the Steelers are going into some sort of rebuild? That is a very, very good possibility. And the reason why I actually say that is because, you got Rodgers, who's 42. You don't know if he's going to come back. He may not even play again. My bold prediction, actually, for Aaron Rodgers is that he's going to take some time off. I do not see him suiting up for the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, I don't think he's going to fully retire. I have a feeling that Rodgers may have this confidence in him where he's like, you know what? I just saw Phillip Rivers literally come off his couch and play for the Indianapolis Colts after 5 years. So I'm still playing in my prime. Why stay here? Maybe he says, he's a leave, retire, yada, yada. And mid-season or something like that, we see Rodgers pop back up. I don't I just don't know if I see him actually starting and playing for a team from the beginning of the regular season next year. I just don't know if that's really going to happen. However, I do definitely see him returning mid-season. Now, another prominent coaching position that is open is the Baltimore Ravens. Of course, John Harbaugh left there, and I actually think there's a good chance that either McDaniels goes there or Kevin Stefanski. I mean, Stefanski is a two-time coach of the year. Obviously, he really hasn't had like that guy as his quarterback. He's gone through what? I believe the number is 13. Lucky number 13. He's gone through 13 different starting QBs in Cleveland. Why don't you go and get yourself a guy like Lamar Jackson, a true franchise player? Maybe that's what he needs. Maybe that's what they need in order to really go over that last hump. You know what I mean? I think that's not a bad fit at all for them. I believe personally that Stefanski would be a pretty decent fit. Man, there's a lot of coaching carousel roles happening this year. I believe a lot of changes are still going to be happening as these playoffs keep going. A lot of those openings have not been filled, or just interviews are going on. People are going here as usual. I'm not surprised by that. I do expect names like playoff coaches, OCs, DC's still in there getting interviews. I mean, one of them, of course, everybody knows is Seahawks OC, Clint Kubiak. I expect him to get a head coaching gig literally anytime soon, as soon as their season is over, whenever that does end. Another guy I do see also getting a change of scenery could be the Rams defensive coordinator, Chris Shula. I mean, yeah, if the name is familiar, he is the grandson of Don Shula, of course, guys. Yes, for those of you who did not know. However, Chris Shula is a very interesting name. I mean, look at what he's done with the Rams defense. Not even this year, last couple years, I would say. I think he's a name to really, really definitely look after. And possibly he could be going somewhere as well. I mean, maybe a place like Miami. Maybe a place even like the Browns. We know that he can make defenses that have pieces look elite and next level. I'm just saying, I would not be surprised by that, of course. Another guy that, now that the Eagles have an OC position opening, who I think they could also go after, just some names flying around. Todd Monken. I mean, yeah, he was the OC, former OC of the Ravens. I believe that the way he establishes schemes, his fits, it could work for Jalen Hurts. The only thing that makes me nervous about him is the way he ran Derrick Henry at the end of the year. So I hope that's not going to be translating to Saquon Barkley. But let's see how that goes. You know what I'm saying? Never know. Maybe that is the right fit, and that is how things go. Ladies and gentlemen, you tell me if you think some of these predictions are on point, or who you guys think is going to be advancing to the Final Four, to the championship rounds in both the AFC and NFC conferences. Let me know who you guys think possibly could even be the next head coach of your favorite NFL football team. But as usual, thank you so much for listening to Pipe Bomb Sessions. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week.